Thanks for checking out Chamber Web TV. This is Chamber Votes 2014, a conversation with the candidates for the upcoming October 27th municipal election. I'm Brian Butcher, I'm Vice President of the Chamber, and it's my pleasure right now to sit down with Jane Brewer, candidate for Regional Council. Jane, welcome.
Nice to talk to you, Brian.
I'm glad you're here.
I'm going to stand instead of sit.
You're welcome to whatever's comfortable. So it's underway now. The nominations are closed, and I guess it's time to pound the signs into the ground and start knocking on doors and talking to people.
Yeah, be out with the public.
Be out with the public. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling very good. I still have some problems from my car accident and the fall I had, but I get around well with my cane.
Well, you look great. Honestly, you do.
And I feel good, and I'm more than glad that I'm able to take one more crack at the...
Yeah, this isn't new for you. You've been around this bend before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, we'll get started then. I'm going to ask you, what do you see as the biggest issue facing the region and in fact, the municipalities in Ontario?
I think the infrastructure, to me, is a real issue, and the money that's going to be required. This will mean that the federal and provincial governments will have to come to the table, but the monies should be there, and we need it desperately.
Yeah, it's a big squeeze, and all the things you don't see are probably more important than a lot of the things you do see, because we won't be real happy when our water goes off or our toilets don't flush.
That's right.
Yeah, I agree. Infrastructure's huge. The Chamber, we get to put our opinion in here because it's our web TV. So the Chamber is, always looking for candidates with some big, bold, new ideas, things that perhaps have been tried before, but a different look at them. Looking for things to lead us into the next 4 years and beyond. I'm just wondering if you have some big, bold ideas you'd like to champion.
I think big, bold ideas are difficult. When you're looking with dollars.
Yeah.
But I think that for me the boldest one is the new economic development committee for the region, and the cooperation that will have to be there for local municipalities to give up some items that over the years have been contentious. But to me, that's the boldest that we've been in a long time.
That actually is the next thing I wanted to talk to you about, was regional economic development. There's a proposal that's being reviewed right now to have regional economic development on that level. But my understanding is that they will look after kind of an oversight or an overview for economic development, and also the foreign direct investment, where there would still be an economic development department in the municipalities that would look after more local growth of existing businesses. That's the plan.
That's the way it's been worked out to date, and they're still working on some details. But at the same time, excuse me. But at the same time, the region has hired an economic person. And he will be working with local municipalities.
Yeah, I think we lost some opportunities with Maple Leaf going to Hamilton and the Dr. Etker plant going to London, and maybe that inspired some different thinking.
Well, it actually grew out of a meeting of regional councillors, and we were just trying to come up with some ideas.
Yeah.
And the idea that came out of that was economic development. We need to work with the local municipalities, and we went from there, and now it's on its way.
Yeah, it would seem so. I wanted to ask you about the idea of having regional councillors elected directly versus, I think we're the only region that has councillors that are elected to be only on regional council as opposed to being on their local council and regional council. And there are, the advocates for that say that it's a more direct representation, and those that are opposed to that say, well, you lose the local flavor, so you're not talking to your own council in the same way when you take your issues to the region. I'd just like to know your thoughts on that.
Well, we had that at one time.
Yes, and you were a
I
regional
was
council
at
at both
regional
levels, were you not?
council and local council, but you can't have two masters. And that's what it boils down to. For instance, if at the local council I voted against something, then the expectation is that when I go to regional council, I change my vote. And that's not what it's should be intended to do. And we had it, and there certainly was concern about limiting the people who would apply for the position.
Yeah.
In terms of age and in terms of business people not being able to do the work of the two levels of government. And then Joe Martin and I were going to AMO, and we were going to be meeting with the minister and about another matter. And we got a message that he wanted to meet with all of the mayors. And we met with him, and he just told us that we were going to change things in this region, that it wasn't working and that it was causing local problems.
Right.
So then we set up the mayors as a committee to come in with the new proposal. A couple of the others who weren't mayors came in with one idea that they came up with over a cup of coffee, and council did not buy it, but the council did buy what the mayors had proposed, and that was direct elections with the mayor's being on.
Right.
That.
Yeah, the mayor's the only one that sits
Yeah.
on both councils.
And I think the expectation was that we would have the mayors reporting back to local councils.
Right.
And that's not happening.
No?
No,
You don't
no.
feel that's...
Not in a way that informs the public about what's going on between. And I think that certainly at that time, and it was a different government, we were told that be careful of what you do, because we will step in and give you one level government.
Yeah.
And we don't want, that's not what we wanted. We still wanted the local governments, but we did want the mayors to be reporting back, as I said before, and it's not happening. They may go back and report individually to just the council members, but the intent was that they would report as they did when I was the mayor, as they did then when you made a report at council meetings.
Right, right, so that the public would get it, the media would get it, and so on. Yeah, okay. So planning is a huge responsibility for the municipalities. It kind of comes down to neighborhood interests in a lot of cases, and in the region we have a two-tiered planning process, kind of, where things are passed through the regional planning level first, and then go for at the Cambridge City planning level.
No, it goes local.
Okay, the other way, yeah.
Yeah.
Except in the case of Kitchener, who has sole authority
Yeah.
over their planning.
And some time ago, that was given to Kitchener, I think more because of the population and the amount of work that had to be done. And at that time, there was no argument about it, that it happened, and it seems to work very well.
And do you think Cambridge should have that same, should we have that same single level of planning?
Well, there are times, certainly, when you look at the east side lands, which are being developed, there are responsibilities there for both levels of government. So I think it works well as it is, and I see no reason to
You wouldn't change it?
would change.
Yeah, okay. Okay, our Waterloo Region International Airport has become quite a gem over the last number of years. A little bit of back and forth. Unfortunately, we lost Bearskin to Ottawa, but that was not because the planes weren't full. Bearskin simply lost their right to fly into Ottawa. I don't know if that was maybe a bit of the catalyst to slow down the airport expansion plans that were ongoing at the time. There were a number of options proposed and so on, and there's other noise control problems and all of that. I'm just wondering if how you feel about airport expansion, the issue in general now.
Well, I attended all of the public meetings, and certainly there was strong opposition to the expansion, and people kept complaining about the noise. Well, it seems to me when you buy a house under the flight path, there's going to be noise, and people should have been aware of that through their lawyer, through the real estate, or through the planning process of buying a house. But at the same time, there was a lot of flights coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly since Toyota Motors came, and they have parts being flown in at different hours, and it makes it difficult. But I think that we put it on hold, but a report I read on the weekend showed that WestJet was 96% full in their aircraft. In
Fabulous. That's great.
And American is 84%, I believe
Good.
it is. So they're going ahead well, and I would hope that things can be worked out with some expansion.
Yeah, I can only see that kind of service growing for the region, as the region continues to grow, of course. Yeah, that'd be great.
Excuse me.
Yeah, no problem. Can you give me, or did you have something else on
Yeah,
that?
I think that people need to be aware that at one point in time, that was a recreation airport.
Yes.
And I don't think at that stage people ever thought it would grow to be the success that it is. But it is a success. And we have to find a way of working with it.
Yeah, things change. I mean, at one
That's
time,
right.
Hesper Road was a two-lane
That's
dirt
right.
track almost
That's
as
right.
well, but things change. Can you tell me, in your mind, one thing that the region does badly or not as well as you'd like, and maybe one thing that you think the region does amazingly well?
I think communicating with the public is one thing that we don't do as well as local. But that's also part of the printing process of the newspapers. The Cambridge Times does not have a full-time person who is at regional council, and they get the information from the record. So I think communication is a real problem. I think we do planning well. We are known throughout the province for the planning process that we have, and I'm very pleased that we are still fighting some of the battles about the official plan, but that's part of how we do the planning. If we're not prepared to accept what just comes, then we have to go back to that official plan.
Yeah, it's all part of the process.
That's right.
Sure. Okay, before we wrap up here, is there something you'd like to say to the Cambridge voters? A last word?
Well,
We're ready for you.
I think that I have said this will be my last election. I look forward to the 4 years. I have represented this community to the very best of my ability. I attend local council on many occasions, and I'm available to the public. I'm hopeful that we can resolve all of the issues that will come out of what we are looking at for the dispatch center, and hopeful that we can find some way of working the police, the local, and the firefighters. And that will be a challenge and a costly challenge.
Okay, I'd like to remind all voters that you can vote online or by telephone for the first time in Cambridge in this election. And you can do that between October 11th and 25th. Or, of course, on October 27th, you can go to the polls and mark the paper ballot as you're used to. But it's most important that you choose one or the other, and you do get out and vote. And Jane, I'd like to thank you so much for coming in today. It's great to see you, and I love talking to you.
I
Thank you for
have
being here.
enjoyed this afternoon, and hopeful that people will make use of the new things that we're trying for balloting.
Best of luck.
Yeah, thank you.
you.